Fighting against injustice across Connecticut, Melissa in the Morning checks in with the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities. Now on WICC 600 AM and 107.3 FM.
So here's a first that we have never done with the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities. We have in-studio guests for the first time in 3 years. And not just one, but I have two. I feel like Tanya Hughes was like, let's get them going. Let's get them all in here. So I'm very excited this morning to have Darcy Strand here, who is a legislative and administrative advisor for the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities, and Anna Marie, who I have here. Anna Marie Puryear. I said it correct. Excellent. Human rights attorney as well. Thank you both for being here. I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, this is fantastic. And I know today we are talking about two different studies. They are already underway right now. In fact, the legislature paid the money for these studies to happen. One is an equity study. The other one is a disparity study. And so let's get started, first of all, with just the significance of these. I'll start with you, Darcy. How often do we conduct these kinds of studies here in Connecticut?
Yeah, so the disparity study is a really important type of study that looks into the state set-aside program and looks into how the state conducts state contracting. So it's a really important study that really should be done every 5 to 7 years or so. The state, unfortunately, has not done one since 1991.
Why? Why? That's
a great question. It's something that the CTCHRO and other groups have been trying to get done for a really long time. We've had a hard time getting funding for it. We finally got the funding passed in 2021. So
how expensive is it? I mean, that's over 30 years.
That's
been
crazy. A really long time. You know, we were able to get a vendor who's going to be able to get it done for under $1 million. So It's not prohibitively expensive. It's just for, various political, financial, other reasons. We just had a really hard time getting the funding passed. So we were able to work with the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus and other interested groups to finally get it passed in 2021. But it's something that really should be done more often than it's been done in Connecticut. But it's finally underway and should be completed in the spring of next year.
And that's just the disparity one, or is that also equity?
Yes, that's just the disparity one. So the equity study, which is really meant to be a kind of holistic look at how state agencies function and whether or not Connecticut residents are able to equitably access state government programs. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a first of its kind sort of study. So the idea is to really look into state government programs, how they work, how they function, whether or not state residents are able to use them fairly, get what they need, and then also to interact with underserved communities and kind of get their opinions on how they think state government is working.
Oh, wow.
So it's this really big, broad study.
Right.
It's really the first kind of study like this that's been done nationally as far as we know. Which was part of why it was kind of hard for us to find a vendor to do this study, because no one really had experience doing something like this.
So how was it curated then? Like how did that process work?
It was hard. It actually took a lot longer than we were. The study was we were hoping to have it done this spring, but it's actually not going to be done until the fall.
Wow.
Because it took a while to go through the RFP process and to actually finally sign a contract and pick a vendor, just because no one had the experience doing this kind of scale, exactly. Like people had done like maybe an agency or a couple agencies, but no one had done this kind of broad across all state government kind of study. Yeah, so we're really excited about it because obviously it's so important to know how government's actually doing. So we think it's going to be great, but yeah, it was hard to kind of find both a vendor, and we're working with this really great group out of Rhode Island called Faulkner Consulting Group, both to be able to find a vendor who's able to take this on, but also to figure out like the parameters of what we were able to do in, like a 9-month study. So that's what we've been working on.
Okay, so Anna Marie, I could feel you itching that you want to talk about these studies, and I'm coming to you because so I'm like already my brain's on fire with these. What I'm curious about is when these studies come out, like what is the significance of them, and what do we do with them once we have these results? What's sort of the hope? We don't know what's going to come out of them, but what do we do with it?
So for the disparity study, it's specific to the state contracting and procurement. And what it's looking at is to determine whether the state set-aside program, which requires that a certain amount of state funding, state contracting, go to minority business enterprises and small business enterprises, whether that's actually accomplishing that goal, and whether or not it would be if challenged in court, whether it would be upheld constitutionally. So whether the statute itself would be found to be constitutional. So, and then whether or not they will also make recommendations in terms of whether to amend the statute to make it more constitutional or to have more of the impact that the statute was originally intended to have. So I think that there is some concern. There has been some concern over the years that there's the way the minority business enterprises is defined is so broad that it doesn't actually have the intended impact that it was designed to have, and whether or not it makes sense to separate out certain groups and allocate based on certain groups.
Interesting. Would that also include women-owned businesses?
So minority business enterprises includes race and ethnic minorities, as well as women and disabled-owned businesses.
Oh, wow.
So they're grouped together, and the statute requires 25% of all contracts to go to small business enterprises, and then another 25% of that 25%, which is 6.25%, to go to minority business enterprises.
Interesting. Okay. I love that I have the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities in here. I almost missed the fact that we're back on the show. That's how much I love having them here. We're talking in the commercial break. And this is a really, to me, very fascinating that we have, first of all, not had a disparity study done in the state of Connecticut in over 30 years. That's wild to me. And also, this like outline that's been created for an equity study here in Connecticut it has, in this capacity of an entire state, has not been done, as far as we know, in any other states across the U.S. So kudos to Connecticut for even coming up with this, but in 2023, I can't believe it's taken this long. Anyways, I'm very glad to have both Darcy and Anna Marie here. We are talking about these studies. And Anna Marie, right before the break, you had kind of told us like an overview of how like minority businesses really would be one of the entities that would benefit from studies like these. Could you give me like a really concrete example? You don't have to give a specific name. You can make up a name if you want. But give me like a concrete example so I can really understand what the result of these studies would do for a minority-owned business owner.
So as an example, say, for instance, and we don't know what the ultimate study is going to say. But
that's why we got the, right, sure.
But say, for instance, that they find that categorizing minority business enterprises in such a broad term sort of undercuts utilization in very specific areas. In other words, it tends to be very women-heavy. So most of the minority business enterprises that are becoming certified are women-owned businesses, and the race and ethnic minorities account for a very small portion of Connecticut's use or expenditures. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, there may be a proposal to separate out minority business enterprises so that, say, for instance, if we wanted to allocate 6.25% or whatever, 10%, that they would separate it out per category. So disabled-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, and race and ethnic minorities to properly attribute for the differences instead of lumping them all together.
Okay.
Because they are different, and when they are challenged in court, there are different standards that are applied to uphold the statutes. So that may be another reason. So ultimately, they'll probably be making recommendations in terms of like legislative changes that could have a very significant impact on different groups of people.
Okay. I appreciate it because that it visualizes like what exactly this could do. And again, we don't know what's going to come out of the study. We have to see. We're in the middle of it. And it's a 9-month period that the study goes on?
So the disparity study is longer. It's about 2 years.
Okay.
So that one started last spring, towards the end of last spring, and should be finished in March of next year.
Okay.
The equity study is a much shorter turnaround, is 9 months. So it started in December and should be finished in, I think October or November.
Okay.
So under the legislation that passed authorizing the study, it was set up as a 9-month study.
Okay.
So that one's for such a big broad study, it was a very quick turnaround.
But maybe after it goes this year or this cycle, if that's what you want to call it, maybe the next time, hopefully not in 30 years, maybe the next time they will extend it, especially if we find that there are gaps in it and it's like, ooh, we missed this or we missed that. So maybe we'll see it longer in the future.
I think that's possible. I think for both of the studies, one of the requirements is for the firms that are doing the studies to lay out recommendations, and I think it's likely that further areas of study where they're going to suggest other things to be looked at are going to be in there, and hopefully we can pursue those further, because it's just unlikely that we're going to be able to touch on everything in such a quick study period.
Totally. So we have Darcy and we have Anna Marie here from the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities. These two studies, an equity and a disparity study, underway right now as we speak. And there are opportunities actually for the public to get involved. In fact, we need you to do it. So take it away. How can people get involved, and what are they doing?
So, for instance, in the disparity study, there's going to be an opportunity for contractors, those who have participated in the set-aside program and those who haven't, those who are interested in participating, to fill out a survey about their company, and that's going to be posted shortly, hopefully by the end of the month. And that will be online for approximately a month. So there's a very short turnaround to respond to that, and that will sort of help with the determining the availability pool, those businesses that are ready, willing, and able to do business in the state of Connecticut. And then with the equity study, there is currently an online survey that residents and community-based organizations can fill out on the website, and there will be focus groups coming up with residents. And if you are interested in filling out or participating in one of the focus groups, they are going to be virtual, so easy to participate. You can go to the website and indicate your interest. I think in a couple of days the link should be posted. So the website for the disparity study, so that you can keep up to date on when that's going on, is portal, portal.ct.gov /disparity study, DISPARITY STUDY. And the equity study is the same website, portal.ct.gov and /equity study instead of disparity study, EQUITYSTUDY.
All right, simple enough. So again, portal.ct.gov, and then you do the / either disparity study or / equity study. And please get involved with this. It's so important. And Connecticut is really, I think, I'm hoping, making strides with this. And again, can't focus on the past, but I am very, very shocked over how not many equity studies we have around the country at this capacity, and that it's taken this long to do another disparity. But here we are. We are here in 2023, so let's not complain. We are happy. We got these two studies. They're happening. If you want to get involved, again, portal.ct.gov / disparity study, or same website but / equity study if you want to get involved. Thank you both so much for coming in studio and telling us about this. I think this is so interesting, and I do hope that people will get involved. I think it's so important, and I love that Connecticut is doing this. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we really hope people will get involved. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Darcy Strand as well as Anna Marie Puryear here.